Hey, how's it going? My name's Jeff, and Time Machine Tuesday here at BrickScale Studio starts now. Welcome to another episode of Fanhome versus LEGO Build the DeLorean. I hope your week is off to a good start. I'm so glad you could join me on this next episode. Today we'll be doing issues 5 through 8 of the partwork DeLorean and steps 15 through 28 of the LEGO DeLorean. So without further delay, let's get into it. Here's issue 5, and we are going to be working on the left front suspension. So here are our parts, and there are a lot of screws, which I'll go over when we look at the parts pack. Also, there are some more springs in this issue, although they are not nearly as small as the springs in the previous issue. These springs are actually pretty easy to handle, so it's not going to be nearly as frustrating as the last issue. And then we get into the magazine. Here's some information on Leah Thompson. And some more information on time travel. Crispin Glover. The flux capacitor, and then a preview of our next issue, which is going to be the right front suspension. So pretty straightforward. Okay, so let's get cracking on this episode and take a look at the parts. So this is the parts pack. And as I mentioned, it comes with a lot of screws in this pack. So we have AM screws, BM screws, CM screws, DM, EM, AP, and BP. So let's get started here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the left front suspension and the lower link, and we are going to attach those together. And the way you want to orient this when you're looking at the picture in the manual is there's a notch in the lower link, and you want to make sure that faces to the right. And then that's going to be held together with AM screws. And you definitely want to tighten them, but you do want there to be some play in this because it is the suspension. So there needs to be some movement for the wheels to absorb the shock. And also there was some issues with screwing this in, and that's where you want to take like oil and be very careful. So next we're going to take the shock absorber and we're going to insert that through the hole in the lower link, and that is going to be secured with 2 BM screws. So we're going to get those in, and this should be in there securely. You want no movement in this shock absorber arm. Now we're going to take the first spring, and as you can see, it's much larger than the one in the previous step. So you just put the coil spring down over the shock absorber and then push the front suspension over that and attach it with an EM screw. And again, it will push up and down on that spring. So next we're going to take the control arm, and that's going to be attached to the top portion of the front suspension. And that is going to be attached with 2 CM screws. And I found it easier to go ahead and start the screw before you try to hold the pieces together. And once you have the screw started in the central arm, then line it up and screw it in. And you want to make sure that this is tight. And again, there'll be a little play, but we are going to secure that up with the next step, which is attaching the front tie head to the lower link and the front suspension. So this is going to sort of tie everything together, I guess, hence the name front tie head. And that's going to be attached with 2 DM screws, one in the top and one in the bottom. And again, you want to take your time, and it took a minute to get the alignment correct on this. The illustration in the manual is not the greatest. But again, just take your time. And again, definitely you want to dip those screws in some 3-in-1 oil. And if you meet any resistance, just screw it in a little way until you get resistance, and then back it off a couple turns, and then go back in and back it off. Do what you need to do to get it in there. What you don't want to do is speed up and end up stripping the screw head. So just take your time and make sure you have a screwdriver that fits the head of the screw well, so there's not a lot of slipping and sliding. But once you have that all lined up, then just make sure that you get it in there tight. And again, there will be some play in this, because this is what causes the wheel to turn. So it's not going to be stationary. So again, we're going to take another spring, a little spring, but again, it's not as tiny as the one in the previous issue. And we're going to put that spring on the positioning column. And then we're going to attach that to the brake disc. And that's going on with DP screws. Then we'll need the brake caliper that's going to attach to the brake disc. And this has 2 alignment lugs. So you just line those up. It can only go on one way. So just line those up with the holes, and then there are actually 3 holes in the brake disc. The screw goes in the center hole, and that's an AP screw. And that goes in super quick. And then again, you just want to make sure that you've got that down tight. And that's the completed brake disc and brake caliper. And then now you're going to want to attach the brake caliper to the tie head and make sure that's all secure. And then here you can see that this is also the mechanism. The wheel is going to attach to the brake caliper, and then there's a magnet, and this is what's going to allow it to go into hover mode. So again, you want to make sure that you can turn the wheel, and that you can, and that magnet mechanism works correctly, so you can go from car to hover mode. All right, here is issue 6. I'm going to get into, I'll show you the magazine, and then I'm going to build this part since it's the exact same as we did on the previous issue, except we did the left. This issue we're doing the right, so it's the exact same build. So I'm just going to build that off camera, and then we'll come back for issue 7. But let's see what's in the magazine for issue 6. So it looks like we have some information on Biff, the villain, you will remember. We have also information on some locations that were used during the filming. More information here about locations. And then information about the dance where Marty plays the guitar. And then we have our parts for the next issue. All right, we are back. And you'll see I have both the right and left front suspension. So we can see if they're on the car. So the wheels turn, and then they go to hover mode. Same thing on the other side. Give it a nice turn and go into hover mode. So let's go on to the next step. Okay, let's move on to issue 7. So again, it looks like we are the steering rack, linkage, and front plate. So here's our instructions. And here we go, more information in the magazine. A little more information on Michael J. Fox from Family Ties. Teen Wolf, that's one of my favorite 80s movies. Definitely Teen Wolf, love it. More Christian Glover. And then it looks like we have our next issue, which is issue 8. But let's get into issue 7 here. So here are our parts. All right, and then we just have one pack of screws. It looks like they're flange screws, and they are FM screws. All right, so we're going to take this bar. So there are 2 of these pieces. We're going to start with this one. So let's set those aside. All right, so this is just going to go like this. And we're going to just put that in with an FM screw. So let me get that loaded up. Again, we are going into metal. So we have FM screws. All right. Okay, and that should slide on there like that. Yep, just want to make sure that's tight. And then the next one is going to go on the other end. So let me grab another FM screw. Let me make sure that is far down. And again, it's going to have some play. There we go. That's a little better. So again, these should still move. All right, and then we're just going to take our little rubber pieces, and the one with the non-threaded end, it's going to go on just like that. And this one is going to go on just like that. And we do not do anything with this part. So that is it for issue 7. So let's just set these aside. And let's move on to issue 8. So we are working on the anti-roll bar and the bottom plate. Alrighty then. So we got our parts here. We got our instructions. And then here we have some more information on Leah Thompson. More information on the time machine. Michael J. Fox. More Michael J. Fox. And then it looks like for issue 9, for the next video, we get another wheel. All right, so let's get into issue 8. We've got our anti-roll bar. Now, so far, these parts are plastic. So we've got AP screws. This part, however, is metal. All right, so we're going to turn it over. No, we're not. We're going to have it. Yes, we are. We're going to turn it over. And we're going to use 2 AP screws to attach these little plastic sections. Just want to see if there's any sort of stamp on this side. Now, this does have a stamp that says L. So that's going to go in just like that. And now we're going to flip it over. And we are going to put 2 AP screws. All right, that is on there. And now we are just going to put the other side on. And that's going like that. And again, we're going to secure it with 2 AP screws. Just tight. Just tight. All right, so that is the bottom plate. And that is it. So we are done with issue 8. So now we're on to the Lego part of the build. We're going to do issues 15 through 28. And as I alluded to in an earlier video, some of these steps have multiple steps. So you'll see here we're on step 15, but in that step there are 4 sub-steps. So I'm counting step 15 as one step, even though there are 4 steps inside of step 15. So I hope that makes sense. That's how I'm doing the counts. I'm just counting the major steps. So even though step 15 has 4 sub-steps, I'm only counting step 15 as one step. Also here we have a measurement guide. There are some axle or rod pieces of varying lengths that are included. So they give you a little measurement guide, and you can lay the piece on it to make sure that you have the one that is the correct length. So that's what's going on here. So now that I know that I have the correct parts, let's get into the time lapse. So here we have another measurement guide. This time we're using a rod that's a little bit longer than the one we used before. So again, we can line that up. So here we're attaching some gears, and you just want to make sure that you get those lined up with the other gear that's already there so that they work with the mechanism underneath the car. And I believe this is the mechanism that's going to take us from drive to hover mode, but we'll find out. Alright, so that concludes the Lego portion of the build. We've done steps 15 through 28, and again, we're still working on the base, but we have attached the 2 gear mechanisms on the front and back that I think, like I said, are going to operate the drive to hover mode feature. But that's all we have for Lego. Alright, so let us review. We have issue 5 and 6, issue 7, and issue 8 for the DeLorean, for the Fanhome DeLorean. And for the Lego DeLorean, we did steps number 15 through 28. Well, I hope you're enjoying the build so far. I'm having a great time and a lot of fun putting it together. Again, you know, for a first-time part work builder, I'm having a great time with the Fanhome DeLorean. So let's summarize where we're at right now. So in this episode, we completed 32 steps in the Fanhome build, and we used 30 parts. And in the Lego build, we completed 40 steps. Now remember, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm going to go ahead and count all the sub-steps in our summary count, but I'm only counting each individual step for an episode, if that makes sense. So with all the steps, the sub-steps, we did 40 Lego steps today, and we used 95 parts. And so to date, we have, for the part work build, we have completed 72 steps and used 71 parts. And for the Lego build, we have completed 54 total steps, including sub-steps, and we've used 193 parts. So that is it for today. I neglected to mention in my intro, I hope all you dads out there had a great Father's Day. And remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share this video. So until our next episode, happy building, take care, be kind to each other, and I'll see you soon.